We should never take impeachment off the table. We should never take where we see law breaking. We should never take accountability off the table.
This nonsense from like AOC that he should be impeached is just absurd. Absurd. There's no... Okay, get back to me when you've read the Constitution or get a law degree, because you sound like an absolute...
Megyn Kelly just unleashed a shockwave so intense it flipped the entire stage upside down. This wasn't a quick comeback, it was a full-scale explosion straight out of a Hollywood thriller. AOC, the usual queen of the spotlight, suddenly looked like she had walked into a firestorm holding nothing but a paper fan. And the twist that left everyone speechless? No one saw it coming. After this fiery clash, you'll never look at AOC the same way again.
There is absolutely no ground to impeach the president. He 100% was within his constitutional authority and his congressionally authorized authority to do what he did on Saturday. Okay, but as for whether it's a good idea, that's a debate we should be having. And look, you know, if we could get congressional approval of the specific action, fine, I'm okay with that too. If you want to bring it to Congress, go ahead and see how that goes. I don't think it's necessary, but...
Megyn Kelly turned the spotlight straight on AOC, and what followed wasn't a calm debate. It was a fierce showdown where one fighter stepped in completely unprepared. Kelly didn't just expose tiny flaws in AOC's polished image. She tore right through it with the chaotic precision of a toddler slicing up brand new wallpaper with scissors.
Check in on AOC and see what she has to say.
Reaction on what's going on with Elon Musk and President Trump on Twitter right now.
Oh man, the girls are fighting, aren't they? I think this breakup we've been seeing a long time coming, but we'll see what the impacts are of it legislatively.
Okay. You're so cool referring to them as the girls. She's above it all, Ben. That's what she's trying to telegraph. You see, she's the adult in the room, the one out there who does a preacher accent. And she leans into her fake Latina accent. And she's the adult in the...
If this fiery takedown has you hooked, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. In an instant, AOC transformed from the lively Instagram live star sipping wine and hyping her fans to someone frozen stiff under Megyn Kelly's glare, looking like she just realized the Wi-Fi password had been changed without warning.
There's the true radical left, who's gone beyond all the identity issues. I mean, don't get me wrong. The person I'm going to show you is 100% wrapped in all of them, but like genuinely believes the Hitler fascist stuff, like is distraught because they really think Hitler just got reelected. Most of them were just pretending, but then there are the ones who genuinely believe it, like AOC.
We are about to enter a political period that will have consequences for the rest of our lives. Donald Trump has talked about turning the military on U.S. citizens that he deems his domestic political enemies.
Here's the raw truth about AOC. Her entire approach runs purely on vibes. It's not based on solid facts or real plans. It's TikTok drama wrapped in exaggerated hand gestures. People don't tune in for deep policy debates. They watch because she can turn a 30-second clip into something that feels like a TED Talk colliding with a Broadway show.
AOC has been out there on this, I don't know if it's campaign trail, I don't know what we're calling it, but this like fight the oligarchy tour with Bernie Sanders, from which, you know, venue to venue, she travels first class, sipping her champagne, you know, in the first class cabin as the losers and plebs walk by to coach. They're the ones she's really fighting for. And she's decided to ramp up her anti-Trump rhetoric in a way she's done before, but that could be deeply problematic for her if Trump actually decides to pay some attention to her.
But Megyn doesn't deal in empty theatrics. She strikes with sharp precision that can make even the boldest politicians second guess everything they stand for. And that's exactly what happened here. AOC came in thinking her usual routine would land. Grand gestures, fiery passion, maybe a flashy line comparing climate change to a credit card bill. But Megyn wasn't buying any of it. She tore it apart bit by bit until AOC looked less like a congresswoman and more like a student bluffing through a book report. The brilliance of Megyn's takedown was her method. No cheap jabs, just pure facts, sharp logic, and relentless focus that sliced through AOC's points faster than glitter through a washing machine. And the crowd, they weren't just entertained, they were stunned. Watching Megyn calmly dismantle AOC's persona felt like trying to assemble IKEA furniture without directions. And the best part? The self-proclaimed voice of the people, known for her humor, confidence, and pricey sneakers, suddenly looked startlingly ordinary.
Report today that AOC may be getting ready to run for president, that her team is looking, and I know you've said she could potentially do it, but her team is looking at maybe Senate, Chuck Schumer is, I think, going to be 78 when he runs for re-election. That's really old. And the Democrats seem to get that now. Or she might just go for president. And at the same time, this happened today. The Republicans in the House introduced a resolution to honor Charlie Kirk. It condemns the murder and it prays.
AOC's image is managed so tightly it makes an Apple product launch look like amateur night. But Megyn didn't just spot the cracks, she blew them wide open for everyone to see. Suddenly, AOC's polished "I'm the Future" act looked less like destiny and more like a failed audition that somehow made it to C-SPAN. And here's the sting. It wasn't just about policy. Megyn targeted the performance itself, the one area no one else dared to touch. While others wasted breath debating her talking points, Megyn tore back the curtain on the theater. The hand waves, the pauses, the perfectly timed bursts of emotion. It was like unmasking the Wizard of Oz, only to find someone with a mic and a fog machine. Once you saw it, there was no unseeing it. The reactions were priceless. Half the audience frozen, the other half laughing. Somewhere, a Brooklyn barista was probably insisting AOC was still brilliant, even as she was getting steamrolled live. But it didn't matter. The illusion had shattered. Megyn showed the emperor wasn't just without clothes. She was trying to return them for store credit, and the timing? Impeccable. AOC had been thriving on influencer politics, where a catchy comeback counts as real change.
Of course he's lying and abusing and manipulating the stock market too. When he talks about rapists and criminals, he should look in the mirror.
Clearly saying that Donald Trump is a racist. Rapist. She also thinks he's a racist. He's all the ists. But here, she's in deep trouble because he was not found liable for rape. And George Stephanopoulos just had to pay ABC some $15 million to President Trump to settle a defamation lawsuit.
When Megyn called her out, the truth hit like a thunderclap. Clapbacks only work if there's real substance behind them. Without that, it's just noise. Pure political jazz hands. And here's the burn. AOC probably thought she could spin this the usual way. Play the victim, rally her fans, toss in a few hashtags. But this time, the game had changed. Politicians get grilled on policies every day, but how often do they get unmasked for the performance itself? That's where Megyn nailed it. She turned AOC's biggest strength, her command of attention, into her downfall. Suddenly, all the dramatics that once made her magnetic just made her look like she was trying too hard. And in politics, nothing sinks faster than looking desperate. By the end, Megyn didn't just win the exchange. She rewired how people saw AOC. Because once you realize the so-called voice of the people is basically auditioning every time she grabs a mic, you can't unsee it. It's like learning your favorite action hero used a stunt double all along.
There's AOC, who said the following.
And beliefs were ignorant, uneducated, and sought to disenfranchise millions of Americans, far from the working tirelessly to promote unity, unquote, asserted by the majority in this resolution.
Then she voted no. She refused to join in the resolution. Consequences to her politically for doing that?
I would love to have her run for president of the Democratic side. It's a contrast, right? What you see is what you get. If that's what you think can lead this country, is that where your values are? Is that what you think will continue to promote American freedom and liberty?
Here's the real twist. This wasn't even Megyn at full power. This was Megyn on a casual Tuesday, sipping coffee while effortlessly dismantling a politician like it was just warm-up practice. Imagine the chaos if she ever went all in on AOC. That wouldn't be an interview, it'd be political demolition with a smile. Because once Megyn shines that spotlight, the internet never lets go. Memes flood timelines, late-night shows scramble for jokes, and frantic aides race to erase the evidence. Spoiler, it never works. At this point, AOC's only move might be to lean into the act, start belting out show tunes on the House floor, jazz hands and all. At least then, people might laugh with her instead of at her. But after Megyn's strike, the curtain fell hard. The illusion shattered, and suddenly people started asking, wait, was this all just a performance? The craziest part? How fast the energy flipped once Megyn pulled AOC under that microscope. Moments before, she was untouchable. The internet's golden icon who could do no wrong.
And the reason this is relevant is because a congresswoman who you may know as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has been telling us for years that she is from the Bronx. And recently she had a fight with President Trump over tweet, text, truth, whatever. And she played tough and said, "Oh, don't you mess with me. I'm a Bronx girl and we eat Queens boys for breakfast," because that's where Trump was raised, in the Queens. And respectfully, AOC. Well, that's real cute, except she only lived in the Bronx until she was age 5.
She could stumble through a policy point, twist metaphors into pure confusion, or toss out wild analogies about billionaires devouring planets. And the audience would still cheer like she'd just finished a Broadway finale. But Megyn wasn't there to applaud. She popped the illusion and the air escaped in one long, awkward hiss. That's the brutal truth of performance politics. It only works if the crowd believes the act. And Megyn, with surgical precision, yanked the strings right into view. Picture AOC stepping into her trademark speeches. The wide eyes, the dramatic pauses, the sweeping hand gestures cutting through the air like she's conducting a hidden orchestra. Normally, people love it. But this time, with Megyn exposing the formula, every move looked rehearsed, almost mechanical. It was like watching a magician redo the same trick once you already know where the card's hidden. Impressive once, embarrassing after that. You could almost see AOC realizing it in real time. Her entire brand thrives on control, controlling the mood, the message, the impact of every glance and gesture.
The rest of her childhood, 1 through 12th grade, in Yorktown Heights, which is Westchester. And by any measure, it is richer, nicer, and more white collar than the Bronx, with all due respect to my friends in the Bronx. She's pretending to be a Bronx girl because she wants this to be part of her origin story, the same way as she wants now to be called Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Once Megyn stripped that control away, everything started to crumble. Suddenly, AOC didn't look like a fearless leader taking on the world. She looked like a nervous performer forgetting her lines mid-scene. Megyn calmly dismantled her script, one exaggerated gesture at a time, and that made the fall even harsher. AOC thrives on having villains. She needs her opponents to look like caricatures to fuel her fire. But what happens when the opponent just smiles and points out that the emperor is waving jazz hands in an empty room? There's no fiery clash, only silence, and the slow hiss of credibility slipping away. Her supporters rushed online to defend her, flooding Twitter with threads longer than novels, twisting themselves into knots to argue she wasn't exposed, that Megyn was unfair, that none of it mattered. But here's the irony. The harder they defended her, the more obvious the damage became. Because if it takes a 42-part thread to prove someone wasn't embarrassed, they definitely were.
Everyone knew her as Sandy Cortez when she was growing up, and her lies are coming to the fore. So, among other things, Benny Johnson, who's hilarious, and he's a great Twitter follow and has a great show, went to Yorktown Heights just to take a look and to talk to some folks there about AOC and what Yorktown is like and so on. And now some of her schoolmates, separate and apart from Benny, are weighing in on her claims.
Meanwhile, Megyn sat back and watched the chaos unfold, probably sipping her coffee like a queen overlooking her victory. That's the beauty of a perfect takedown. You only need one strike when it echoes loud enough. Clips replayed endlessly, memes flooded every corner of the internet, and each replay made AOC's performance look worse than before. It was poetic, like a gymnast nailing a triple flip only to faceplant during the bow. Nobody remembers the flips. They remember the crash. The ripple through the media was priceless. Outlets that once shielded AOC started whispering, maybe she does rely too much on theatrics. Oh, now they notice. After years of overacting and Instagram sermons, it took Megyn drawing a bright neon arrow for everyone to finally admit it. The timing was perfect. It felt like a crowded theater where everyone pretends to enjoy a bad movie until one person finally says, "Wait, this is awful," and suddenly everyone agrees.
Fourth place, not necessarily fourth place. This is just, I'm going to start with as the fourth possibility, but I've got 4 total and you'll decide what order they go in. I'm going to kick it off with AOC. Okay. Her real name is Sandy Ocasio. This is what she went by her entire life, Sandy Ocasio. And only when she decided to run for office did she decide to suddenly become Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and lean into her Puerto Rican history. where her mother was born in Puerto Rico, but her father was born in New York City. And she decided to tell us sob stories about how she's from a poor family and she was living, paycheck to paycheck. Meanwhile, she was raised in a Tony part of Westchester called Yorktown Heights.
The memes sealed the deal. The internet doesn't care about nuance. It devours punchlines. And Megyn served an entire feast. Clips of AOC's dramatic hand waves looped under circus tunes. Her long pauses replayed as awkward silences that made viewers cringe. Screens froze her mid-expression with captions like, Oscar-worthy drama, zero policy. Once the internet gets hold, credibility isn't just dented, it's roasted, wrapped, and archived forever. Every gesture now looks fake. Every pause feels staged. Every plea sounds like an audition monologue instead of politics. And that's when it all cracked wide open. AOC's carefully built image shattered, her fans scrambling to fix it, the media finally admitting what they'd always suspected, and Megyn standing tall as the one who exposed the act. And here's the kicker. This wasn't even an epic showdown. No roaring crowd, no thunderous finale, just the cold realization that no one believes the performance anymore. The wires were visible, the stage props exposed, and the person in the spotlight looked like they were trying far too hard. That was the demolition no one else dared to attempt, until Megyn did.